Welcome to Tales from Timber Creek, a place where stories flow like water in a mountain brook. Settle in, unwind, and let your mind wander. Here you'll find original stories told in a calm, soothing voice, paired with peaceful, rustic ambiance. Whether you're looking to relax after a long day or drift off to sleep, this channel offers a tranquil retreat from the noise of everyday life. So take a deep breath, relax, and stay a while. The rain that remembered. In the high country where the mountains fold into one another like old hands in prayer, there lived a man named Robert. He kept a small cabin perched just below the tree line, where the air grew thin and the wind spoke in long, thoughtful sighs. Robert had not always lived in the mountains. Once he had lived among crowds and noise, where time rushed forward like a river after a storm. But he had come to the mountains seeking something quieter, though he could not have said exactly what. What he found at first was silence. It was not the gentle silence of rest, but the kind that presses on the chest and makes a man aware of every unspoken regret he has ever carried, the kind that leaves him listening for something he cannot name. So Robert worked. He chopped wood, mended fences that did not truly need mending, and kept the path to his door clear of stones. He measured his days by tasks, and his nights by the fading of light across the ridges. But the mountains are patient teachers, and they do not always allow a man to remain busy forever. One afternoon, the sky shifted. Robert noticed it first in the way the light changed. Not dimmer, but softer, as though the world had been wrapped in a veil. Then came the wind, rising from the valley below, carrying with it the scent of wet earth not yet touched by rain. He stepped outside his cabin and looked towards the peaks. Clouds were gathering, slowly at first, then with purpose. They rolled over the ridge lines like great herds, darkening as they came. The mountains seemed to lean into them, as if welcoming an old friend. Robert had seen storms before, many storms, but something in this one felt different. He did not go inside. The first drop fell without warning. It struck the wooden railing beside him with a sound so small it might have been imagined. Then another, and another. Soon the rain began in earnest, not in a violent rush, but in a steady, deliberate rhythm. It fell across the mountains like a quiet conversation, touching stone, leaf, and soil with equal care. Robert stood beneath the overhang of his roof and watched. The trees swayed, their branches bending, but not breaking. The dry earth darkened, drinking deeply. Small rivulets formed along the slopes, tracing paths that had been carved long before Robert was born. He noticed something then. The rain did not hurry. It did not force its way into the mountain, nor did it demand attention. It simply fell, patient, persistent, and certain of its purpose. Robert felt an unexpected stirring within him. He had always believed that change came through effort, through pushing, striving, refusing to yield. That was how he had lived before the mountains. But the rain did not strive, and yet it changed everything it touched. As the storm deepened, Robert stepped out from under the shelter and into the rain. It soaked his clothes almost instantly, cool and clean against his skin. He tilted his head upward and closed his eyes. For a moment, he did nothing. No work, no plans, no effort to control or shape the moment. Just the rain. And in that stillness, something long buried began to rise. Robert remembered. He remembered the years he'd spent chasing success that never seemed to satisfy. the relationships he had neglected in pursuit of things that now felt distant and hollow, the words he had left unsaid, believing there would always be more time. He remembered the day he left it all behind. He had told himself he was seeking peace, but standing there in the rain, he realized something harder. He had not come into the mountains for peace. He had come to escape. The rain continued to fall. It ran down his face, mingling with something warmer. Tears he had not known were waiting. Robert did not try to stop them. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel the full weight of what he had carried. Not as something to be fixed or solved, but as something to be witnessed. The rain did not judge him. It did not ask him to explain or defend himself. It simply fell. Hours passed. The storm moved slowly across the mountains, lingering as if it had nowhere else to be. The clouds hung low, wrapping the peaks in mist. The world felt smaller, quieter, more intimate. Robert remained where he was. At some point, he sat down on the steps of his cabin, the rain pooling around his boots. He watched as water gathered in the earth, filling cracks and hollows he had never noticed before. Places that had seemed solid were now revealed to be thirsty. Places that had seemed barren were now alive with movement. A thought came to him then, simple but undeniable. The mountain does not resist the rain. It receives it. It allows the water to find its way into the soil, through the stone, down into the roots of trees that stand tall because of what they cannot see. The mountain is not diminished by the rain. It's shaped by it. Robert let that thought settle. He had spent years resisting his own storms, pushing away discomfort, burying regret, and avoiding quiet places where truth tends to gather. He had mistaken resistance for strength. But the mountain did not resist, and it was stronger than anything he had ever known. As the storm began to ease, the rain softened. The steady rhythm slowed into a gentle patter, then to scattered drops that clung to leaves and fell one by one. The clouds began to lift, revealing glimpses of sky beyond. Robert stood. Everything around him felt different, though nothing had truly changed. The same mountains stood, the same trees swayed, the same cabin rested on its foundation. But the air was clearer. The colors were richer. The silence, once heavy, now felt alive. He walked a short distance from his cabin to a place where a narrow stream had formed during the storm. It had not been there before. The water moved with quiet purpose, weaving between stones, reflecting the light of the clearing sky. Robert knelt beside it. He dipped his hands into the current and felt its cool, steady flow. This water had been rain only moments ago, falling from the sky, touching everything without distinction. Now it was a stream, finding its way downward, becoming part of something larger. It did not cling to where it had been. It moved forward. Robert sat there for a long time. He thought of the life he had left behind, not with regret alone, but with understanding. He could not return to those moments nor undo what had been done. But he could choose how he carried them. He could allow them to shape him as the rain shaped the mountain. Or he could continue to resist and remain unchanged. As the last of the rain faded, a break in the clouds revealed the sun. Its light spilled across the mountains, catching on droplets that clung to every surface. For a brief moment, the world seemed to glow. Robert smiled. Not because everything was resolved, or because the past no longer mattered, but because he understood something he had not understood before. Peace does not come from escaping the storm. It comes from standing within it and allowing it to do its work. In the days that followed, Robert's life did not become suddenly easy. There were still long nights and moments when old thoughts returned. There was still work to be done and questions without clear answers. But something had shifted. He no longer rushed to fill the silence. He no longer turned away from discomfort. When the wind rose, he listened. When the rain came, he stepped outside. Seasons passed. The mountains changed, as they always do. Snow giving way to thaw, green to gold, and back again. Storms came and went, each one leaving its mark in ways both seen and unseen. Robert remained, not as a man who had escaped his past, but as one who had learned to receive it, like the mountain. And sometimes, when the clouds gathered and the first drops began to fall, he would close his eyes and remember that day. The day the rain did not try to change him. The day it simply fell, and in doing so, changed everything. What we resist within ourselves hardens and isolates us, but what we allow patiently and without judgment can reshape us into something stronger, deeper, and more alive. Like the mountain, we are not meant to avoid the rain, but to be formed by it.